Nichols. It just came through the basic love of the sport. You start off watching it, and then you start off wanting to do what the other guys do. You watch the pros and you want to do what they do. And I just became involved with the sport at a young age, so I just constantly grew to love it. In other years, we definitely had older guys on the team, that was able to take on the leadership role, better than myself. As kind of the years grew on and I became more mature as a person, I just kind of wanted to take the leadership role into my own hands, and, try to develop some of these young guys to be the player that I know that they can be. I think they look up to me, in a couple of ways, the way I play on the court, obviously, but the way I carry myself off the court, I try to remain humble as possible, not let all the accolades get to my head and, become one of those guys that, only focus on the individual goals. But I just think that they look up to me, in a multitude of ways. My goals haven't changed for an individual, but as a team, I just, like I said, I wanted to bring another championship to the school, LEC championship, and then hopefully a national championship. I just want to get back to the final, get back to the Elite Eight, and hopefully make it to the Final Four. So those are some of the goals that I've kind of had, throughout the whole year. I hope to keep playing somewhere, somewhere in the world. One of my top destinations is France. The second is Italy or China. I just want to continue to keep playing basketball. I feel like I'm getting better year by year, and I feel like I still have a lot to improve on. So I just want to see how far I can take this thing.
Ryan Cain, Ryancain. Coming here as a freshman, I think Ty had, a lot of growing up to do. I think he was your typical, 18, 19-year-old college student. There were a lot of older guys on that team, and Ty was so good that he, deserved to play early in his career. But I think the area that he needed the most growth, other than, a skill standpoint in basketball, some things that he could have done better was, the leadership piece, being a guy that we could rely on consistently. So year to year, that team dynamic changes, and are excited to play with him. I think he's someone that plays very hard. I think he's someone who does the right things, and I think he plays unselfish. So he does a really good job by the way that he plays, but also done a much better job with the way that he's carried himself on the basketball court, so that people can, feel like everyone's working together, rather than at times, feel like, they may be, four guys working together with Ty kind of doing his own thing. I think that may have been the case early in his career, but I don't think that's the case anymore. Yeah, tremendous growth. From a basketball standpoint, he's made tremendous steps as a player. I think if you look at his statistics his freshman year, he may have made a handful of threes, and now he's basically making 2 or 3 threes per game. So just in terms of being able to shoot the ball alone, he has made tremendous growth. As a freshman, pretty much everything he did was, 15 feet and in. It was all in the paint. And now he probably scores as much outside of the paint as he does in the paint. Free throw shooting, I think is an area where he's made tremendous growth. He did not shoot a great percentage early in his career, and is now, a guy that shoots as good as anybody in the area. And then defensively, I think he's made just huge strides as well. He's now our lockdown defender, and he was a guy probably early in his career where, when he wanted to, he could guard, but he definitely was not a guy that we're putting on the best player on the other team.
Kyle Santoro, Santoro. He's grown a lot, actually, since I first met him, especially in a leadership role on the court. He's really stepped up the last, especially this year, but even last year, just being more vocal, taking more control of the team. And, he's one of the best players to ever play here. He broke the scoring record, so we all respect him. My first year, when he basically led our team to Elite Eight, that was one of the coolest experiences of my life. I never thought I'd get to be part of something like that. So, it's something that me and all those guys are going to remember forever. And he was a huge part of that.